Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Destina. This is Spiritually Bougie Astrology, and we're going to be taking a look at the astrological transits for September 18th to September 24th. You know me, I never look at the dates. I never remember the exact dates. I just go with the transits. How was everybody's week? How did everything go this last week? What new things started to pop up in the new moon? What new things started to come around after Mercury turned direct? What exciting things started to come to the surface over the course of the weekend? Now, for some people, there wasn't a very big event at all over the weekend. We still had an energy towards buildup. For others, there was a relief. There was a relief that came through in the square between Jupiter and Venus. And why was there a relief? Because there was more awareness towards alleviating of pressure. Some people did turn in their notice last week. Friday morning, the day Mercury turned direct, what did we have? We had strikes. All across the US, strikes. That created a pressure, but in other ways it also created a relief. The relief was more in the tie of mental relief. We don't have to sit here and just wait. I don't have to sit here and fester and be miserable. I can make a change. Now, sometimes as an individual, it's hard to make big changes, especially on the levels of a strike. But when we're breaking away from an individual, toxic workplace, the toxic bosses, the toxic work environment, toxic parents, family members, people that are not good for our soul. And we have started to make the active moves towards breaks. For some people, the energy that's going to start this week and is going to linger all the way until we start eclipse season. And for those that need to know, the start of eclipse season is going to be October 14th. So we're just about a month. This 4-week span is going to be either a series of small breaks or it's going to lead to a culmination point to one giant break. Some people are going to have 2 medium-sized breaks. 2, 3, maybe. We lose a friend. We lose a boss. We lose something else. We sell the car. Medium breaks. That's why I said medium. Some people are just going to suddenly see little shifts in the activity and shifts in our actions. Our motivations have changed. And as this energy continues over these next few weeks, we will feel a very large difference in the motivation. And why do I say that? Because of what's going on between Venus and Mars. Venus and Mars are in their sextile, and that's where they're going to remain until both planets change signs. October 8th is whenever Venus is going to go into Virgo. October 12th. Pretty sure it's 12th. It's right before eclipse. That's whenever Mars is going to go into Scorpio. As we continue these next few weeks, these two are going to remain in a sextile. Now, their sextile is a little different. And I kind of gave this example in last week's episode, or not last week's, I think it was the new moon episode. And I know there's a lot of repeated energy between the new moon video and the week ahead video, but the thing is like they kind of, it's the same week. Can't help that. But I said in both of those, I'm like, a big portion of the energy is going to play out both last week and this week. This week. So, the sextile that's going on between Venus and Mars, it's very much like a contractor. That was the example, by the way. I know I went on a tangent for a second. I do that. Gemini, Mercury. We can just talk. It doesn't take much. Anyways, in a lot of ways, Venus is very much looking at Mars almost like a contractor. And I'm going to remind everybody of something, because something is going to happen this week that is going to reactivate a similar energy, but slightly different. I'm going to remind everybody of how this summer has gone. And I said this all during Leo season. Mars is making way for Venus and everything Venus is going to do. He had his machete, he's going through the wheat field. I'm done, and move. And this is overgrown, and this looks like crap, and just done. Disruption. Whether it was pivotal or chaotic, we had disruption. Mars made space for what Venus needed to do when she showed her ass through the retrograde. And that's still how I feel about it. And then, right when Venus was almost about ready to catch up, Mars changed signs and Venus turned retrograde. And Mars went into Virgo. And Mars basically did the exact same thing for Mercury. Mars made space. And when we got to around August 23rd, that particular week, we felt a turn. We recoiled. Our mind shifted. We realized the actions of another weren't honest, weren't clear, weren't forthright. They had a negative effect. Part of that was because at the start of that Mercury retrograde, Mars made an opposition to Neptune. Dusty, that was a month ago. Why are we talking about this? Because of what we're about to pick up on this week. And how some elements of the transits will repeat the same pattern that Mars did a month ago. That week. We pick back up on that pattern this week, but this time it's going to be with the Sun. The Sun is going to make an opposition to Neptune, then the Sun is going to make a trine to Pluto before it goes into Libra. That's exactly what Mars did at the start of the Mercury retrograde. While Mercury was spinning in the sky going, I don't know what I don't like it, I don't like it. I'm irritated. I'm mad. Everybody's ticking me off. Everybody's lying. Not everybody, you know what I mean. It's like, you scream you can't trust anybody, but really you're like, I know I can trust the dog. You're venting to your best friend. I can't trust anybody. Bitch, why am I here? I'm right here. What are you talking about? You can't trust anybody. Why are you sitting in my room? Like, seriously. But we say that. We get really dramatic. We had something we were lingering on. And what happened after Mercury turned retrograde, and as the continued effect happened, was those turns. Some of us, it was all internal and has been leading to one big external turn. And we're in the process of that turn. The reason I say we're in the process is because a good portion of this energy with the Sun's opposition to Neptune is going to reveal things. This is going to be a week that is going to signify both revelation, having things come to the surface, having things come to light, having things being revealed, revelation, as well as, by the end of the week, a small little activation, an activation of transformation and healing and overcoming things. Now, this activation is not a repeat. And this is where this repeat pattern of the Sun this time is going to be different than it was with Mars. Mars is the disruptor. And for those that are not used to my way of describing things, I'm getting a lot more people listening, so I'm going to do some more breakdowns for certain people. I always look at Mars as disruption. I'm a Scorpio rising. Mars is one of my chart rulers. But when I look at disruption with Mars, I look at it from two perspectives, and both are very applicable. You've dealt with both in your lifetime, but nobody quite put it this way for you before, so I'll describe it this way. There is versions of Mars that are both chaotic and pivotal. Both are forms of disruption. Both are necessary, but nobody's quite put it in this perspective for you before. And after you understand this perspective, it will change your view of how you deal with Mars transits. Chaotic Mars. We've all been in this situation. Somebody applies for a job, they got their resume, everything looks great, everything on paper, it just lines out like, yeah, you've done all this stuff before, you know how to run these systems, you can do this, you just need a couple days of training, your own little name tag, your own little login stuff, and I just let you go, just boom, you're done. You call the references, everything looks good, on paper everything looks good, but then once they're starting, you realize they're never there on time, they never pick up their phone, they half-ass everything. And very soon you realize that a lot of people are having to go behind this person and pick up the slack and do the extra work And that's a form of chaotic Mars. Everything it touches is a disruption. It creates more work, it creates more hostility, it creates more drama, it makes everybody mad. It's chaotic Mars. And we've all been there before in some way, shape, or form. The other side of Mars, the other idea of the disruptive for Mars is pivotal. Pivotal, necessary, groundbreaking, but I always just kind of go with pivotal. We've all been in these situations before. You go hang out with somebody, you go meet with somebody, you sit down for a speaker talk, you go for a retreat, you go somewhere and you sit down and you have the most profound conversation. You learn something so incredible that once you hear that perspective, once you work with that individual, once you get a better understanding of their perspective, of how they come from, how they handle things, and you have the ability to learn from that. The thing about learning is you can't unlearn anything. You really can't. You might forget, it might fall to the wayside, but the thing is, you can remember how to get back on a bicycle and ride that bike. When you come back to the situation, that knowledge is there and you just get back into the routine. That repetitive muscle memory comes back. Once you learn something, you can't unlearn it. You can't undo it. Once you fully learn and understand that, it now basically shapes how you make decisions because you've had that experience. You've had that moment. You've lived through something and it changed you in a pivotal way. Both are forms of disruption, and both are things that Mars does. A month ago, at the start of the Mercury retrograde, there was a disruption. For some of us, it was chaotic disruption. We found out a lie, we called somebody on the lie, we got tired of it. We dealt with some level of fraud or manipulation. We looked through all the documents and we've seen that everything was wrong. We don't know how we got here. This isn't what we agreed to. This isn't what we talked about. Things aren't mathing. And because of that disruption, it led to a series of events and changes. And we're transitioning. We're still in that transition mode. It has not gone away. It ain't going to go away for a while. It's really not. We are transitioning. We needed that disruption. Now, the disruption that happened the week of the 23rd. So if you listen to prior days, I said where our mindset starts to really change and we really shift our focus. It happens between 8:20 and 8:23. That's when we become the most aware of it. And then a few days following, that's when we start to really feel those turns. We felt the turns. The thing is, we felt them. The person that pissed us off, they don't fully know yet. They just think you're acting funny. They just think you got a chip on your shoulder. They've been crappy since I said that the other day. And they haven't been ready to accept responsibility for their actions. They are not wanting to face anything that you have said because they think you are just going to continue to do what you always do. Because some of us like to be stuck in our ruts. We don't like change. We get scared of change. Makes us nervous. So they're not anticipating any level of change. By the end of this week, as the sun repeats the similar pattern to what Saturn did back in August, that awareness will change. There is something that is going to come to light, come to the surface, be revealed as this week continues. And for the most of us, the revelation is going to happen somewhere between Monday and Thursday. Some people, it might linger into Friday. And if we linger it into Friday, you're making an active choice. It's the human effect of, I am not going to quit until Friday afternoon. I'm going to put in my notice right after he leaves. So it's on his desk. It's dated. Not my fault if you didn't open it. you sometimes you do some sneaky things. It happens. I get it. You don't want to have these forthright conversations. I'm fine with having forthright conversations, but I know a lot of other people are not. You're non-combative and you're just like, no, I'm going to put my notice in the right spot. It's going to be dated, but it's not my fault if he doesn't see it. You did what you were supposed to do. Air quotations on that. Now, in a lot of other aspects, though, there's going to be things that come to the surface that are not anticipated. And I see a big portion of that too. There's going to be an effect that we were not anticipating. There's going to be something that comes to the surface that, again, we were not anticipating. We couldn't have imagined. We didn't know. Now, when I say effect this time, I don't necessarily mean it in the sense of like a fear factor thing. It's more along the lines of like, there's a substance element to Neptune, so hear me out. It's like you've been taking all of these different medicines to fix something or keep something at bay, keep something under control. We've been trying to deal with like pain in our shoulders, and we're taking, some type of muscle relaxer, but after a little while, like the effect isn't the same because we're getting used to it. We're building a tolerance. Sometimes we build other types of tolerances and we have to take a break. A tolerance break. In some ways, the sun's opposition to Neptune this week can make us aware that a substance, a medicine, I do mean it as a medicine now, doesn't have the same effect. Something's changing. The other thing about Neptune, I say this on occasion, but less likely, not everybody pays attention to this part. And I feel like with Neptune energies, when it comes to the effects, I see that very minimal compared to like the full aspect of substance or vices or things like that. There can be a discovery of vices this week too. What happened to the bank account? Where's all the money? I spent the weekend at the casino. Like that kind of vice. Yeah. Those are fun. But there can be the discovery of a hidden thing. There can be a discovery of a vice. There can be something that affects our immune system. Now, when it comes to Neptune, Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces, so automatically it's got some Jupiterian qualities to it. Pisces is associated with the feet, but there's also other elements that are not easily recognizable in the system. Our immune systems can be tied to Neptune. Our lymphatic system can be tied to Neptune, things that aren't easily understood. It's not necessarily as easily pinpointed, like there's something just swollen in this area and it's a lymph node. But you don't necessarily know that. It doesn't make sense. Like there's no bone in this little fatty chunky part. Like what is this? Yeah, that's going to be the Neptunian part. So we can start to feel like something doesn't have the same effect, or we're starting to understand or feel a different effect in the body. I've been taking this for a while, and I don't know, I'm starting to feel weird about it. We started a new medicine. You go to the doctor's appointment, and he gave you new medicine last week. That might have been the appointment from Monday. We are trying to get a feel like, is this messing with me? I can't tell quite yet. And we're trying to, again, understand an effect. Not everything's going to be negative this week. There is something, again, that's going to come to light, something that needs to be revealed, something that needs to be understood. And we're all in different stages and we're all in different varieties. In some aspects, a lot of what gets revealed this week and gets understood is going to tie back to last month. But it's either going to tie back to, like, that's when the appointment was, that's whenever we started messing with the medicines, that's whenever we had the last shift in the body. For other people, it's going to be more about those lies, the fraud, the manipulation, the half-heartedness, the not, living up to our word, and realizing the effect of that person. It's not the same anymore. We don't feel the same way about them anymore. That's going to be a big part of the energy this week. There will be a shift for us on an external level, but also very much on a mental, internal level. as the week progresses. Our awareness of things is going to be different. So, getting into this week, let's go to the screen. Let's get to Monday. Monday, the moon is going to be in Scorpio all day. Now, I've got this at 5:30 in the morning. Right now, the moon is at 2 degrees of Scorpio. It is entering a trine, or it's actually exiting its trine. It's just past it, with Saturn. Now, this actually goes the most exact between 3 and 5 a.m. I'm at 5:30, so I'm actually past it. I always try to keep it within like the 30-minute range of the minutes. So that's 2 degrees, 13 minutes, 2 degrees, 50 minutes. We're not necessarily going to be dealing with something when we first wake up. We can kind of wake up feeling a little heavy, a little melancholic. Not necessarily a bad thing, but we do have like that internal like understanding, like it's time to move forward. There's an acceptance of certain amounts of responsibility shifts and understanding that we're about to make responsible changes. And that's going to be a big portion of how this week kind of progresses. Now, there's nothing really heavy. We might just have like that early morning like coffee conversation with our significant other, like, so you hear back on the job opportunity this week? You're going to talk to the boss this week? Are we going to do this week? Yeah. All right. Again, there can be a heaviness to it, but it's like a mental heaviness. But the heaviness really kind of feels more like a fog. We're trying to get a good feel of how we are feeling. We're trying to understand our own emotions. The thing about part of the revelations to this week is if we have the revelation type energy, the things coming to the surface, the reveal aspect, if we're having it on Monday and Tuesday, it's going to have a lot more of an emotional effect. It's going to deal with how we feel and have been feeling towards another person, towards a situation, about something going on. Now, in the morning part of the 18th, the sun is actually a full degree away from Neptune. So we're just starting the sun-Neptune opposition. As the day progresses, again, that's when we're going to kind of have that melancholic feel. The other reason we're also going to be feeling that way is because of Mercury. Mercury is still at 8 degrees. Mercury has not started to move yet. We're still stuck in the same thought process. We're stuck thinking about the same person, the same situation, the same topic over and over and over. It's just the cycle. You go do something to distract yourself, you type up that paperwork, but then all of a sudden they're on your mind again. That it's hitting your head again. Or you are doing the work, but you haven't heard the job offer situation yet, because some of us didn't get the job offer last week. Some of us are getting it this week. So we just keep getting distracted. Every time our phone lights up, you're like, oh, who messaged me? Like you're going to get a job offer through a text message. But every time your phone goes off, you're like, oh, it's just the Target app. It's like an app. It's not even a real notification. It's like, but you're jumping to your phone, like, oh, and you're easily distracted. There is a wondering, what's going on? How's it going on? What's going to happen next? We're easily distracted. There is a fogginess that can happen with Neptune. And considering Mercury, our logical side of the brain, is spinning in place, some of us are kind of feeling a little stuck on Monday. This is why I was saying, like, there's a bit of a weight. But if it's a weight, it's like an emotional weight. There's not a lot of heaviness to Monday. The other thing I will say is we are still in the Jupiter-Venus square, but it's leaving. It's separating. There can be something that happened Thursday, Friday, over the weekend that's meant to be revealed this week. That's a big part of what I think is going to be a lot of the revelations for a lot of people. And this Venus-Jupiter activation still being in play can be a part of what we're stuck on mentally. We're waiting for the turnaround. We're waiting to hear the answer. We're waiting to hear from somebody. We're waiting to hear the reply. Some of us gave our person an ultimatum and be like, look, you gotta act right. Act right. Treat me better. And you're waiting to hear their apology, their conversation. You're just waiting. Now, as the day progresses. The other little part of the transit is going to be Mercury still spinning in place in the sextile to the moon. This happened later in the afternoon. Now, since Mercury is kind of stuck, think of stuck. You get that call, or you have that coworker come say, like, hey, can you help me with this? I can't get this figured out. Can you help me figure this out on the computer? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? It's an aid. It's a request, but it's not like a harsh request. Like, we're not going through anything harsh on Monday. In some ways, the moon's sextile to Mercury is going to be like the check-in going, hey, are you okay? Like, you have just been staring at the exact same screen. You haven't typed or anything for like 2 hours. Are you okay? I just can't focus. If you can't focus, you see other people unable to focus, understand that's a part of the energy. However, also be aware that that can create some impatience in people. Did you even hear what I ordered? Did you even hear what I said to you? They're not doing it on purpose. If you were aware of that, it makes the energy a lot easier to deal with. There is a bit of a mental, like, just check. Did you hear anything today? Some of us, it's going to be as simple as that. It's getting that text message from your significant other, or it's getting home at the end of the day going, hey, did you hear anything? No, not yet. But I knew I wouldn't hear anything today either. Like, a lot of people, they got told, we're going to make our decisions the middle of next week, so you should hear something by like Wednesday or Thursday. Some of you got told Tuesday. Some of y'all got told Monday, and then you didn't get the call, and you're like, oh my God, what's going on? Because again, we're trying to wonder. We're stuck in our heads. We can't let it go. We're struggling to pay attention. We're struggling for the connection. There's a bit of a melancholy. Sun opposite Neptune, so something that I wrote down here, like, look, foggy, cloudy, disconnected, distracted, unaware. You can't focus, so like people are doing things around you, and you're so stuck in your head. You're like, oh, you're moving the furniture? Whoa, what? I'm right here. I know you just moved a chair in front of me, but I'm so out of it. I didn't see you physically moving this giant object across the room. That type of disconnect. It's going to be hard to focus when we're dealing with some things on Monday, because a lot of us are still waiting. Now, some of us will start to have some of the reveal, and it's going to happen. If it's going to happen on Monday, it's going to be later in the day. The sun is getting closer to its opposition. It's actually just about 30 minutes in the separation. It's not minutes as in time minutes like we would say, but like the degree minutes of the astrology. So we are getting closer to learning something, and some of us might get that call on Monday afternoon. It's more likely you're going to get certain calls on Tuesday. Are you focused? Are you awake? Did you check in? Did you hear anything? No. Now, I do want to say some other things that I've seen with Sun-Neptune oppositions, and I wanted to do this kind of as we go from Monday into Tuesday. Not everybody's in the same fraud manipulation thing. The other people can be in a more negative sense, and I got to be honest about this. I have seen drug busts. Getting caught stealing, getting caught, with drugs, getting caught with stolen goods or having something stolen. Because we can't focus, we are a little bit more susceptible to things. And I hate saying that. I really hate saying that. I really, really hate saying that. But it is true. There is a possibility of that. Double check your doors. Set a reminder to make sure your doors are locked. Just humor me. It's not a big thing. Humor yourself. I mean, I don't actually benefit from it. It's more warning to other people. But I've seen Neptune transits, and with the sun opposite Neptune, there is kind of a more of an awareness. Now, it goes the most exact Tuesday really early. So here's 5:30 in the morning. It's not quite exact right here, but the moon is where I want it to be, so I'm going to leave it here for just a little bit. The sun's opposition to Neptune, obviously it's perfecting on Tuesday, but the other thing that's happening on Tuesday is the moon is going to reactivate the energy of the Jupiter-Venus square. By the time we get to Tuesday, Venus is a full degree away, so she is separating, but we're still lingering. The other thing about Tuesday is Mercury finally gets off the 8-degree mark. Oh, look, that means that we can mentally put the effort into something else. We're not stuck anymore. If Mercury's moving, that's helpful. The sun's opposition to Neptune can be the reveal. Talking about something that we didn't know the other side's perspective. Seeing the full effect. Feeling the full effect or the non-effect, like I said before. Getting caught. Getting caught. I know that seems specific. I picked up on that a lot. Like I spent 2 days writing my notes on this because I would meditate on it and then take a break. So I spend some time and I do this intermittent between other things. And there was something about the Sun Neptune thing that just really makes me think that people are going to get caught also. People are going to get called out on their lies. People are going to be told that I'm aware that you lied, and because you lied, because you did these things, now I'm taking a certain action. This is how I feel. The moon is in Scorpio, making the opposition to Jupiter. Jupiter is the retrograde one. Jupiter is taking back certain energies. Jupiter has been a signifier of withdrawal. Venus wants to proceed. I know this is what you want to do, but I'm not for it. I'm not on this team. I'm not in this balance. I'm not in this energy. I'm not with this. I'm not in this with you. Are we doing this all at 5:30 in the morning? No. But considering, now I'm saying this as Central Standard Time, because that's what I have it on right in here on the screen. I'm not necessarily saying it's going to happen all first thing in the morning, but at the same time, it's going to be a busy morning. There's going to be a lot more ting, 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 ping pong. Ping pong. Pinball. I cannot talk. Pinball effect. Ding, ding, ting, ting, ting. There's a lot more busyness. And we're going to know we need to have certain conversations. Now, I'm really tuned into Jupiter's energy right now because I'm looking at the fact that Jupiter has been at 15 degrees for about a month. I want to say it was the 15th or 16th of August. That is when Jupiter arrived at 15 degrees. Since then, Jupiter's turned, and Jupiter this week is going to back off of this 15-degree mark. So a lot of us are dealing with something that has been spinning and going on for a month. And we're trying to wrap something up, and we're trying to fix something. The moon's opposition to Jupiter can be getting that call, considering this happens the most exact with the Sun-Neptune opposition. And where was our last full moon? Oh, it was in Pisces. Who rules Pisces? Neptune and Jupiter. What shifted between August 30th and September 4th? The full moon in Pisces and Jupiter turning retrograde. Where was our shift? There was a withdrawal. This signifies more information and more ties to that shift in the withdrawal. Where have we withdrew our support? Where do we feel that we need to make a change? This change is going to allow for a certain amount of healing. This is the decision. This is revealing how we feel. This is the revealing of a decision. Once we learn those things, we know that a challenge follows because immediately afterwards, Venus is going to square the moon. Now, if you are in the office, a Monday through Friday type job, when you get the call, you're going to have a hard time sitting still. You're going to have a hard time not blurting something out right then. Some people will. Some people just, we have reactive mouths. And they're going to start blurting stuff off right then. Other people, they're going to have to be more secretive. And they're going to have to be more strategic. Why? Because the moon is in Scorpio. Strategy is necessary. We've got to get a better handle on it. So we get that call early in the morning, like first thing, like, yeah, we want to extend this offer to you. We want you to come in. We want you to be a part of this. Okay. For some, if we're dealing with the effect or the non-effect, when I look at Jupiter and Neptune and I put it in that health aspect, a lot of times Jupiter's the doctor. Jupiter's the doctor, it's the guru, it's the your teacher, it's the person that helps you, that cares. A lot of times Jupiter's the doctor. Neptune is the medicine. For some of us, we're seeing something isn't working. We are seeing a negative impact based off of a substance, based off of a medicine, based off of, other things. Some of us, we're seeing the reaction. We're finding somebody, we're finding something, and we're immediately needing to call the doctor. Some of us did a scan last week, right as, Venus, or right as Mercury was turning direct, that new moon Mercury timeline. And now we're going to get a call. We did the scans, we did labs, we did something, and now we have the results back. Like, oh. And this is a call from the doctor saying, hey, we need to change something in the medicine. We found something. There's an anomaly. That nervous system type energy again, with Neptune going. There's something here. We found something. Not surprised, considering all the other energies that have been going on. If you went to the doctor saying something doesn't feel right, don't be surprised when you get that call going, oh, hey, just so you know. Considering we have the Sun-Neptune opposition, we need to see the effect of something. We need to see the results of something. We get that call from the guru. We get the call from the doctor. We get the call from the person that is going to be a part of that healing process. So even if it's the new job opportunity, again, that's still a part of the healing process. Because we're going to make this change. Something gets revealed, and the heaviest, I don't want to say heavy, the strongest time of this week of that revelation is Tuesday morning. So there is something that comes to light. There is something that gets revealed. And I would pay attention to what has been going on in the chart, what's been going on in the sky. What happened back around August 23rd in that time span. After this timeline, then the moon is going to square Venus. That goes the most exact between 7:30 and 9 a.m. And at the same time, and then, not necessarily at the same time, and then later in the day, we're going to hit the moon's opposition to Uranus. So I'm going to show you all of this. I don't know why I said same time. Sorry, my bad. Dusty goofs up. So here's the moon at 16 degrees, 23 minutes. It's near exact. So basically, between 7:20 and 7:30, that's when we have the most exact square between Venus and the moon. So this is a part of the morning. This sets the stage for how the morning is going to go. We have something come to light. We have something get revealed. We have something come to the surface. Somebody gets caught. You get the call from the doctor, whatever way it's going to be, because it's a little different for everybody. And then we immediately know there's a challenge, because a lot of us are still very, very aware that Venus hasn't learned any of her lessons yet. The thing about planets, when they go back over the sky, the areas that they've already been before, there's a reason I call it the walk of shame. Because it is in that final stretch that a lot of times that's when we get the lessons. We did damage in the retrograde. We made bad decisions in the retrograde. We got caught lying in the retrograde, whatever it was. And now, as we're doing the final walk, now we see the final results. There can be a lesson in this energy. Now the thing is, Venus is technically the one in the higher authority. Venus is squaring the moon. You, again, might get that call, and you're so excited, and you want to squeal, or you do squeal. Some of us do go ahead and yes, yes. And somebody comes around the corner. What do you celebrate? Nothing. Nothing. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Then why are you squealing? No reason. No reason. Like, you can't contain it. You're getting questioned. Like, what is up with you? Nothing. Nothing. Because we're not ready to have the conversation yet. Or we need a little more time. Or you just don't want to have it first thing in the morning. Sometimes we wait till the end of the day just because we already feel like it better at the end of the day. We feel more ready to be done with something in general. So we don't necessarily tell the boss first thing in the morning going, hey, piss on you. No. Don't need to do that first thing in the morning. Now, for the most part, there's not a lot going on until we get to the end of the day, so that's what I'm getting us to now, and that is whenever the moon is going to make its opposition to Uranus. Now, this goes the most exact between 6:30 and 9 p.m., so we're just starting it. I have it at September 19th at 6:30 p.m. on the screen. The moon is at 22 degrees and 12 minutes, and the moon is making the opposition to Uranus. The sun is still in its opposition to Neptune. We will still be in the Sun-Neptune opposition energy even as we go into Wednesday. But there will be a dynamic change with Wednesday, so I'm not going to get into that part quite yet. The moon's opposition to Uranus, not crazy. It's kind of fun. It's kind of exciting. It's telling somebody something exciting, so you finally get home. You're waiting on your significant other to get home too, and as soon as they are, they'll like walk in the door like, what happened? I want to hear everything. Tell me all about it. And we're excited. We're celebrating. We're having a good moment. Some people, if you just got in trouble and you just got caught, I hope that's not the case. What are we doing? Oh, we're calling somebody unexpectedly. Can you come bail me out? Can you help? Help! But the other person's not expecting that phone call. There can be something unexpected with the moon's opposition to Uranus. It doesn't have to be heavy. Doesn't really feel like anything terrible. And some of us might not even have anything at all. Like, this could just be like playing on the internet for a little bit, playing with the technology, like wanting some extra game time on your console. Like, you just had a weird day and you haven't been able to focus because the sun's been opposite Neptune. Mercury's just now starting to move. So we're still just kind of like, oh. So what do? We go home and we want to just kind of like binge for the rest of the night on our game console. Or we want to like Netflix binge. So I'm going with technology here. Somebody can learn that the other person broke their phone. Like, I've been trying to get hold of you all day. Like, I broke it. I need to get the screen replaced. It won't let me answer anything. I'm so sorry. Like, oh. It's not crazy. Doesn't have to be crazy. Doesn't feel crazy. It actually feels very exciting and very exhilarating. I like the energy this day, but there's also that melancholic energy. We can't focus. And if you're waiting for a job offer, you definitely can't focus. Like, because you're starting to already internally transition to, this ain't gonna be my shit no more. So, Venus and Mars, they're still in their sextile. That's going to continue. We're going to deal with that for a month, but they're getting closer. So we're getting more to a point where we're going to have more pushes towards certain things being dealt with, towards getting things to become fair. Now, there's another thing that I want to talk about this week. And now that Mars is at this 15-degree mark, this is really where I want to bring it up. I said this in the new moon in Virgo forecast. I said this in last week's week ahead forecast. That in my meditation, one of the things that came through is that Libra full moon that we had back on April 6th, it happened right in this degree span. And I'm going to remind everybody, the last Sun-Mars conjunction, so the things that I keep calling the Mars rebirth, it happened right around here, between 14 and 16 degrees. Hey, look where Mars is. Right there. Right there. There's a part of this energy that the Easter egg situation, the long-term seed situation, when you plant certain seeds in the fall, the reason we plant them in the fall is because we want the entire winter for a root system. Think of it that way. Something got planted in 2021 in two separate events that between this week and the end of eclipse season, so for the next 45 days, is going to finally start to culminize. Now, this is one of those energies, and this is a level of an activation. But we're not going to necessarily immediately recognize this as an activation because some of the other energies at play, specifically the Sun-Neptune thing, we're going to struggle. We're not understanding everything. We're not seeing everything clearly. In some ways, we are seeing it clearly, but we don't know how to move forward quite yet. We haven't made those decisions. We need time to think about it. You got the job offer, but you didn't tell the boss right then that take the job and shove it. No, you were just like, no, I'm fine. I'm so excited that I can't. I'm shaking because I'm so excited. Like I look like a little Chihuahua dog. Are you okay? Yes. Like we're excited, but we didn't do anything with it yet. You go home. That's when you celebrate. Moon opposite Uranus. We're celebrating, we're vibing, we're having a good time. We have had something confirmed. We're good. We're feeling good. It feels hopeful. It feels boastful. Celebrate. There's a fun energy to Tuesday evening. I love it. I really do. Okay. As we start to get into Wednesday, understand, I will cover more of this seed planting thing with Mars at the end, by the way. As we continue the rest of the evening, we're vibing, we're chilling. Some of us are doing our gamer console thing, and that's how we're dealing with everything. Others, we're doing other things. We're having a hard time focusing. We're definitely kind of struggling with like, I don't quite know how to do something quite yet. I don't know how I'm going to have this conversation. I don't know quite what I'm going to do. But we know that a certain conversation has to be had. And as the night continues, we're going to kind of get into that mindset of where do we go from here? Now, in the overnight hours, the moon will trine Neptune right here. And this goes the most exact between 1:30 and 3:30 in the morning. On the screen, I have it at 2:30. Immediately afterwards, the moon is going to hit this 27-degree mark. And what is it going to do simultaneously? It's going to sextile the sun and sextile Pluto as the sun is initiating its trine to Pluto. Mars did this same thing last month. Mars opposed Neptune. That happened around the 23rd. And then by the 27th, we had completed the trine to Pluto. We're on the same kind of track. We started the week with the sun's opposition to Neptune. Now it's separating and it's immediately going into this trine to Pluto. So as this thing has been revealed, as somebody got caught in a lie, as somebody got caught with their fingers in the jar that they shouldn't have been in, and now they're busted. You heard what I said earlier? A different idea comes through. With the moons trine to Neptune, there can be, oh my God, how did this happen? Oh my God, what am I going to do? Oh my God, how do I have this conversation? Some of us, we're still in the excitement mode and we're starting to like daydream or night dream because it's the middle of the night. Like, oh, it's going to be so much fun and I'm so excited and I wonder what it's going to be like and I wonder what the environment and I wonder how the job's going to go. I wonder. So there's a wonder part that can be really fun. There's a dream aspect with the moon's trine to Neptune that we can start to actually like have those like foreshadowing like dreams. But then by morning, this moon, sun, Pluto, trine, sextile little mix that it is, there's also that sinking in and that realization of, you got to have that conversation. I got to talk about what just happened with Jupiter. Got to talk about how I really feel. And this is not always going to be a fun conversation for everybody involved. Just to be clear, there is an understanding that's going to start to come through with the sun's trine to Pluto, but Pluto is retrograde. And the one thing I will also bring up is now Pluto is off that 28-degree mark, and that's where Pluto has been for over a month. We spent quite a few weeks at 29 degrees. Pluto was squaring the nodes. That happened all the last part of July going into August. And then from the beginning of August all the way through into this minute right here, September 20th, bright and early in the morning. It's literally on the September 20th that Pluto finally gets off that 28 degree mark. There's some part of this energy that's going to take us back to something old, something that we thought we had overcome. A fear of some sort. It's taking us back to something. We don't fully know it. Not everybody's going to get taken back. Some people are going to have some news revealed to them, and I feel like a lot more people are going to do this conversation on Wednesday than one would realize. But there's going to be an understanding of a fear that's going to set in. And it's going to happen the most exact on Wednesday. So after this timeline right here, I'm just going to fast forward it to the next part, and then I'll keep talking from there and leave it alone. The moon is going to go into Sag at exactly 9:06 a.m. and then it's going to enter a square with Saturn, and that's where I'm going to leave the screen. So we saw how the day went. In the overnight hours, we had the trine with Neptune, a lot of dreamy energy. Then we had the moon sextiling the sun and Pluto as the sun was starting to enter its trine with Pluto. And we're still in this perfection time span. We're not exact quite yet, but there is going to be a responsibility, a fear, a power struggle like energy that's going to be recognized, and there is going to be some issues with authority, with responsibilities. Because what are we dealing with right now with all of the issues with people wanting to leave their jobs and this restructuring in companies and these strikes and everything else? There's going to be a question of who's been doing things responsibly, who's been doing the right things in their role as manager, in their role as the authority figure. The sun is hitting a trine to Pluto, but where's Pluto at? It's in Capricorn. It's in Saturn's sign. Where's the moon? It's in Sagittarius, squaring Saturn. Who rules Sagittarius and Pisces? Because Saturn is in Pisces. Jupiter. So I'm going to be clear. I said this earlier. I'm going to say it again. The revelation energy to this week. The first 2 days is going to be more about how we feel about something. It's going to have a little bit more of an emotional tie to it. Whatever emotional ties that we're dealing with, though, they have to be well thought through. They have to be strategic. Some of us are dealing with some old wounds that we're going to want to heal, but we're going through a healing process for a while, so we're not getting instant healing. This is one of those steps in the healing, one of those steps in the transformation process that gets activated this week. This is one element of the activation, but it's not the full element, just to be clear. We need to tell something to the boss. Moon square Saturn. And it's about Jupiter. Why do I say that? The last time the moon was in Sag and it hit the same energy. So it hit the sextile to Mars, and Mars was in the sextile to Pluto. And I said then that was going to be an awareness change. Something was being set in motion. This is another level of an awareness change, but this is not as disruptive as Mars per se. It's disruptive to the other side. It's allowing a reality to finally hit the other side. We're very, very aware that Venus has been showing her ass. This isn't Venus in the situation. However, Venus is in the sun sign. Therefore, the sun is the host of Venus. That's why I'm saying it that way. However, the last time the moon was in Sagittarius, Jupiter was direct. Jupiter was spinning and spiraling and stationing to go retrograde. The support had not been withdrawn yet. Now it has been. Decisions have been made. Job offers have happened. Shifts have occurred. And now we are in the process of a transition. This is the next part of the transition, babes. And this particular transition directly is reflective of Jupiter and what changes are here. A lot of people are very aware that we need to have a conversation with the boss. It's very likely that that conversation is going to happen later in the day. Now, the moon square to Saturn, it goes the most exact right in this time span, so between 12 and 2:30 p.m. But I specifically have it here because I wanted to show one other element. It's not exact at this moment. It would actually need to be exact closer to like 1 p.m. But we have that little secret transition here, that little secret transit. The one very similar to what happened Sunday night going into Monday. I didn't really recap that one a whole lot. And at the time that I'm recording this, obviously it hasn't happened yet. This will be uploaded by the time that that happens. But there was an awareness of shift and change and transformation, and knowing that it's time for that. We were more aware of the time. Now we're more aware of the struggle. There is an antitia with the moon and Pluto that's happening right as the moon is in this square to Saturn. This is very interesting to me because this is also with the sun trine Pluto. The boss is not going to like this conversation. In a lot of ways, the authority figure, the boss, the person that has been the most in charge, the elder, they're not going to like what is getting revealed. They're not going to like what they're getting told. They're not going to like that they got caught, depending on where the situation is. I'm going to keep rolling with my similar examples all the way through the main parts of this week. They're going to be told something. They know they're caught. And in some ways, they're going to come up with a reason. They're going to gaslight and be like, no. I didn't lie to you. That's not what happened. I didn't take something away from you. That's not what happened. Sometimes the bosses don't want to accept their own responsibility. We didn't promise you anything. No. Okay. I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm still leaving then. In other ways, we're going to realize that there is something that's going on internal. There's something going on beneath the surface. If somebody just got caught with their pants down and busted, saying that one again, this can also be an energy, I know this sounds very specific, this can also be an energy of trying to make a deal with authorities. Certain things have gone on, people got caught, people have been busted, and we want to make a plea deal. We want to make a deal. We want to offer something that people aren't aware of, something that's been going on below the surface. In the overnight hours, when the moon was in that sextile trine energy, that's when that idea came through. I know how I'll address it. I know how I'll pitch it. I know what I can say. I know what I can do. Hey, I need one of them cops. Send them in here. I want to talk to the detective. I want to talk to my investigator. Send them in here. I want to talk. And there's going to be some offering of some information. Now, are we all going to be dealing with some offerings of information? Not necessarily. Are we all getting arrested? Obviously not. I'd hope not. Jesus. But there is a hidden gem element to this too. Not everybody is going to understand that. Some people are going to be telling the boss, I'm leaving. We might offer to help in some way, offer something up. But even in the challenge of this moon square to Saturn, there is that Plutonian element of something underneath the surface. Are we going to know this one immediately? No. Some people might not know it until later this week. Some people might not realize it at all. Some people might not ever have to deal with this. What we might actually see is the issue under the surface. You're telling the boss, I'm quitting. But inside, he's having a panic attack. He's screaming, no! Is he physically screaming? No. Is he realizing that maybe you lied to him the other day whenever you were so jittery in your chair? Probably. And that's the internal thing. But there is something very much either below the surface, internal. It's very tricky. It's very interesting. I am picking up some other things about this week that I know are not going to come out full circle for quite some time. This is one of those things that I feel like that's going to be there. There's this internal thing. In some ways, somebody might throw something back in your face that you weren't anticipating. And that can be that internal thing. But even then, that would still just kind of solidify, I'm done. Now, we do still have the Sun-Neptune energy going on. So we can still have like those disconnects and just not being able to focus. But really, we are trying to shift towards something else. And some of us, we're not going to know the full results of what is being brought to the surface on certain things with Pluto until after Pluto turns direct. It just triggers something that's not easily seen. It triggers a transformation, but transformation can be good and bad. Okay. Moving us along. After the square, not a whole lot going on. It gets pretty chill. So the rest of the evening, we're kind of hopeful, we're boastful, the moon's in Sag, it's a little joyful, we're trying to have fun, a lot of us. Some people were hoping whatever we just offered the cops. It's like, I hope this works. I hope they take it. I hope they believe me. I hope it helps. Something. We're waiting. If that's the case, we're waiting to hear some news. And where can we suddenly hear some news? The next day. Why do I say that? Early on the 21st, so this is Thursday the 21st, 4:30 a.m., we get our Mercury, newly moving Mercury, hitting a square to the moon. There can be some mental struggles. We're so hopeful and boastful. We're struggling with sleeping. Can't stay asleep. We keep waking up. If you wake up in the early morning, you're like, I want to go back to sleep, but really, you can't go back to sleep. Some of us are going to get some type of news first thing in the morning. Some of us are going to have some conversations, some questioning conversations real late in the evening on Wednesday. And that'll be the human effect. But the most exact time span is here in the early mornings between 3 and 5:30 a.m. Some of us, we did just tell the boss. And now the next morning you're like, you're having your coffee with your significant other, like, so are you going to be good today? You think everything's going to go okay today? I don't know what's going to happen today. Because we don't. Now, the other thing I want to bring up is the fact that the Sun and Pluto are still in their trine on the 21st. You can actually see it actually perfected in the overnight hours. The Sun is at 28 degrees and 9 minutes. Here's Pluto at 27 degrees and 58 minutes. Like this, literally perfected overnight. So for some people, the Mercury Moon square is some sets of questions that we internally know we're going to have that are going to come to light a little bit later. Is it necessarily going to happen on Thursday? No, that might happen on Friday. But there's definitely an energy of trying to get our thought process correct. We're trying to figure out how we're going to move forward from here. There are elements about progression that we're just not sure about. As the day progresses, we're going to get to the afternoon, and then I'm pretty well going to leave it alone. I'm going to get this to about 3:30 because that's whenever it's the most exact for both. So, I have the moon, 16 degrees, 35 minutes right here in Sagittarius. It is in a sextile from Mars, and it's entering a trine from Venus. We have the sextile with Mars first. It's like seeing somebody doing something. Hey, what are you up to? What's going on? There's a questioning, but it's like easy questioning because it's sextile stuff. Like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm working on this for Venus. She wants an open concept. So I'm trying to, take a look at where some of this, I'm trying to find some studs behind the wall and figure out like what we can do. Like, oh, Well, that's weird. Okay. And then later on, you end up talking to Venus because the moon's going to trine Venus. Like, yeah, Mars is doing all sorts of stuff for me. Like, oh, okay, that's interesting. That's one way to look at this. It's not a heavy energy. There can be some motivation. There can be some stimulation. There can be some things regarding like needing some ideas, brainstorming type energy. We need something creative. We're trying to break out of the fog. The sun is starting to separate far enough from Neptune that we feel like we're breaking out of the fog. Mercury is actually moving a little bit more. So again, we feel like we're breaking out of the fog. And there can be some excitement here. This can be as simple as an invitation, like, oh, hey, yeah, I'm hanging out with Venus this weekend. Oh, you are? What are y'all doing? I don't know. Ask Venus. You ask Venus, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, hey, yeah, we're going to hang out. You want to hang out? You want to hang out? We're going to do stuff we're going to like charcoal. We're going to do something fun this weekend. You want to hang out? Oh, yeah, that'd be fun. It's not heavy. It's cohesive. It's helpful. It's supportive. It's motivational. It also can lead to certain things that's going to solidify how we get through this weekend. We don't know that yet because we're just kind of in our Jupiterian moon in Sag, just kind of vibe and energy. There is going to be some adjustments. I don't feel like they're going to really happen on Thursday. I feel like for most people, they're going to happen on Friday. After the trine sextile energy here, a lot of passion, a lot of fun, a lot of vibing, doing really well. The moon's going to continue. We're going to get into the 22nd because there's a lot of energy to the 22nd, and it's going to be one hell of a Friday. Now, I want to bring up that this is the last day of Virgo season. So right now I've got it September 22nd at 3:30 a.m. I just stopped it so I can show you that part. This is the last day of Virgo season. There is something that's coming to a close. There's something that's about to end. And it is signified in more than one way with the transits on Friday. So I'm going to keep bumping this forward. The moon's going to hit a square to Neptune. That happens first. Now that happens earlier in the morning. Goes the most exact between 7:30 and 9:30 a.m. Right now I have it at 8:30 in the morning. The moon's at 26 degrees and 7 minutes of Sagittarius, and it's going to square Neptune at 26 degrees and 11 minutes. The moon is going to both square Neptune and square the moon. Not the moon. The moon's going to square the moon. My bad. The moon's going to square the sun. There's a part of Friday that reactivates the Sun-Neptune opposition. And this is where it happens. So in the early morning, you see right here, 8:30 in the morning, the moon is in the square to Neptune. In the same time span, the moon is then going to enter a square to the sun. This is our quarter moon. Now, this is exactly what happened last month with Mars. That was the lead of disruption. It was making way. I'm going to talk more about Mars whenever we get done with all this. The other thing I want to bring up about Friday is Mars has now cleared its rebirth and Libra full moon points that I was talking about, the 15, 16 degree point. Mars is off of that now. We have surpassed something. And again, we have signaled more energy towards transformation. I'm just going to keep saying that. The first quarter moon, right here, has a very powerful element to it. We are trying to wrap our brain around some things. We've had some things revealed. Some of us got caught. Some of us got busted. Some of us have had to deal with something, and we have tried to offer up information, offer up something to get ourselves out of trouble. In the earlier parts of the day, when the moon's in that square to Neptune, there is questioning. In some ways, we're getting questioned about why you got caught, how you got caught, what were you doing to get caught, what were you doing to get in trouble. In other ways, did you lie? Did you tell the truth? Like that stuff that was offered up earlier, like, was that truthful? That can be part of that energy. But in the other aspect, it can be talking about the effects of those things on the body, those medicinal effects again. It's like, okay, so tell me again what you were doing when you started to feel funny, when you started to not feel okay, when you started to, notice that the medicine wasn't the same. Like, what were you doing? And we're trying to get recapped on something. Some of us, it's really feeling the fuzzy, funny feeling of like something's wrong with the moon square to Neptune. And then by the time we get to the afternoon, the sun's square to the moon, and we go into this first quarter moon, there can be a bit more pressure as the day builds, and there can be a lot more questioning. Some aspects, the question is, can I change your mind? Are you sure you want to leave? Are you sure you want to go somewhere else? For others, again, it's going to be talking about like something feels wrong and something feels off. As that second square sets in later in the day, the sun squared to the moon, this is really going to signify a lot of the energy tied to Jupiter. Why do I say that? Again, the moon is in Jupiter's sign. Neptune, of course, is in Jupiter's sign. Neptune's in its own sign, but it's also in Jupiter's sign. And I want to bring up the fact that Jupiter, after today, will no longer be at the 15-degree mark. Our mind is changed. A difference is set in. There are going to be those questions that kind of come through on Friday. You've made that conversation with the boss. You told him you're leaving. You gave him the notice. You called him on his shit. You told him yesterday whenever the moon was square Saturn, like, look, you weren't treating me right. You didn't do the right things by me. You didn't do what you said you were going to do. You punished me for other things. I'm not doing this again. And the sun square to the moon is going to be like, are you absolutely sure you want to move forward? Are you sure we can't fix it? Can I change your mind? Can we negotiate out something else? Can we do something else? There's going to be questions about how we want to proceed. But all of these questions are pretty much leading to whether we can fix something or not. And for a lot of people, the answer is no. Can I get you to stay? Can I change your mind? Nope. Can I pay you more money? How much more money? Are you doubling my salary? Are you tripling my salary? No. Then no. Are you doing those things? Are you willing to settle for this? No. Can I do something? No. For a lot of us, the questions that are going to come through on Friday, the answer is going to be no. If we say yes, can we fix this? Some of us, what we dealt with this week has been people telling us how they really feel. Before we told somebody, like, look, you're not going to treat me this way anymore. You're either going to shape up or you're going to ship out. And what's coming through over these few days is going to be trying to figure out if the shape up can happen. And we're going into questions. We're going into concerns in some way and different understandings in regards to, again, responsibility and accountability. It's a big part of the energy right now. We want to go into stability. But really right now, all we are bringing awareness that we want stability. We're not actually going to get it in this moon because this is a timeline of transitions. If we say that we're willing to work on something here with the moon's square to the sun, this quarter moon energy, again, if we agree to any type of like work around, it's either going to be a temporary agreement and we don't know it yet because, of course, they're only going to do so much, or we're 100% telling them they have to prove it. And let me be clear. If in this energy we tell somebody they have to prove something, don't give them a short span. I would give them all the way until the end of eclipse season. So that's going to be taking us into the end of October, going into November. I would definitely say something along those lines. You're going to do better. You're going to turn something around. You're going to do better for me. Great. Prove it. So sometimes they can't prove it. And again, temporary. There can be a temporary aspect there. Okay. After this square hot mess situation is done, by 3:22 p.m., so I'm going to bump it just 1 hour, the moon's going to go into Capricorn. And shortly upon that, it starts to enter its sextile with Saturn. Now, this is going to go the most exact between 5 and 7 p.m. But for a lot of us, once we get to the afternoon on Friday, we feel grounded. But the grounding feeling is new. It's not the same. It doesn't feel the same. It does not feel the same. We are more aware of a shift in the responsibility. We are more aware of the changes that need to be made. We are now, by the end of Friday and going into Saturday, we're far more aware of where there has been an imbalance. Now, the moon sextile with Saturn, a lot of that's going to be like, hey, how'd it go with the boss? And it's just talking about that. It's just getting to the... getting through the moment and talking about how the day has gone. It's talking about our responsibilities. It's just talking. Not a whole lot going on. As the night progresses, here's Jupiter. Jupiter's about to move. Here's the sun. The sun's about to move. We are shifting. We are feeling a shift. This is part of that transition energy, and this transition is going to lead to a new awareness. So overnight, going into the 23rd, I have this at 2:30 a.m. This isn't specific for any type of like transit quite yet. I just want to show you. Right as the sun goes into Libra, Jupiter gets off the 15-degree mark. Let me play this again. Jupiter's in Venus' sign. Jupiter has been stuck waiting for Venus to act a certain way, finally got tired of Venus and all the drama, and has withdrawn support. We're sick of Venus. Jupiter wants to make a change. Jupiter's trying to stabilize this fixed area of life, this fixed Venusian area. But Jupiter has realized that whatever is going to stabilize it is not going to be stabilized in this moment. We have withdrawn support. While the moon was going through Sag, we finalized Jupiter at those final degrees. And now, since the beginning of the week, the sun's opposition to Neptune, Neptune's in one of Jupiter's signs. We became far more aware of something. We realized a disruption. Long-term decisions were made while the moon was going through Scorpio. We started to transition. We gave the news to the boss. The moon went into Sag, more Jupiterian stuff. There was a transition. And by the time we got to the end of Virgo season, so that last day of Virgo season, our awareness of something had fully shifted. A fear, in a lot of ways, has been set in. The energy going into the weekend, as the moon is now in Capricorn, is going to be more about responsibilities and those shifts and getting an idea of how things are going to move forward. We're trying to get our bearings about us in the gears that have been shifted. Now, when the sun goes into Libra, there's two dynamics that have also changed. One, Mercury is now on its own. For the first time in a long time, Mercury hasn't been in a sign by itself in a very, very long time. There is this isolation for Mercury, but this doesn't feel bad. It really doesn't. Once the moon goes into Libra, once the sun goes into Libra and Mercury is by itself, but Mercury is by itself in its own home sign, logically, we feel really good with where we're at. Our mind feels very, very good with the decisions. In some ways, we can feel isolated, but that would make sense, especially if we're doing separations, especially if we're doing breaks. There will be levels of isolation. Now, this level of isolation won't last for very long. And this is going to be a part of that transitional energy of like understanding where shifts of other people need to start. We are transitioning from one place to another. They need to start their own transitions. Our awareness is there, but now our awareness has changed in a whole other way too with the sun. The sun going into Libra, the sun is now entering fall. This is literally the autumn equinox, the line here between Virgo and Libra. So this is day one of fall, of autumn. But whenever you talk about the sun being in fall, that also has a very big astrological term to it. The sun rules Leo. That is the sign where the sun has the most strength. It's our summertime, but it's also based off our orbit around the sun. The earth is closest to the sun. And that's why the sun is so hot. That's why everything is so different in our summertime. The other side of the globe in Australia, they're having summertime too, but their summers are very, very different from North American summers because in the orbit, they'll be further away still. So they have a very different type of summer there than we do. The sun is strongest in Leo. It's known as being exalted in Aries because that's when we start to have the daylight climb. Once we go into Libra season, we transition from summer into fall, into autumn. So too does the light start to fall. It starts to dwindle. It starts to fall away. And in many ways, there will be that element, not just the, I'm not saying the astrological, not just the seasonal element of the sun actually like shorter days. We will have that, but that's not what I'm referring to now. Our awareness that something is declining and a new thing is starting is there. Why do I say that? The sun is now in Libra. Who rules Libra? Venus. Where's Venus? In Leo. And who rules Leo? The sun. Our awareness of fall, so to speak, astrologically and energetically is going to be very different this time. There is mutual reception as soon as we start Libra season. Everything Venus is going through is now impacting the sun in a whole new way because now everything that the sun is going through is impacting Venus. Our awareness of the things that Venus has been doing, our awareness of all of that shit, it changes from here on out. Humbling in a lot of ways. Energetically will begin. Now, Mars. Mars. What has Mars been doing since it went into Leo? It's been making space. It made space for Venus going into Leo. After it went forward, it made space in Virgo for Mercury. We don't get a sun retrograde. That's not how that works. But what we do get is the sun going through full. And in a lot of ways, Mars being Venus's contractor, Venus is now letting Mars know, hey, thanks for all the work you've done so far. Just so you're aware, I'm bringing in another person. I'm having somebody else step in for me. I have something else going on. So now, in an energetic way, what Mars has been doing has been making way for the sun and has been making space for the sun's awareness of things. Our awareness of where things are going to be different and that a new thing has to start is truly here by the 23rd. By the start of Libra season. And for the remainder of Venus going through Leo, we will have mutual reception between Venus and the sun. That means for the majority of Libra season, even though we have the sun in fall and we have Mars in its fall, there's still an uplifting to it. There's still a strength to it. There's still an empowerment to it. Mars was showing us everything that has been unbalanced, where we've had too much imbalance. By the time the sun gets into Libra, we are all far more aware of where we need to balance things out. We understand that the scales are tipped. And we need to make certain actions, Mars actions. We are aware actions are necessary to fix the situation. By the time we get to the weekend, our awareness has changed. Now, I know, that was a tangent. The moon's in Capricorn on Saturday. And when we get to this part of the day, it's not a heavy thing, right around here, the moon is going to sextile Mercury. So for those listening to audio only, I've got September 23rd at 12:30 p.m. I don't know what I was trying to say right there. Anyways, Mercury is going to sextile the moon. This is not anything crazy. It's just kind of a confirmation. Now Mercury is going back over areas of the sky that it's already been over. So some of this can be like a follow-up, like, hey, didn't we do something? Like, didn't you tell me something a few weeks back? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're going to do that then. We're going to meet up here. We're going to do this today. What are you up to? It's not anything heavy. There's a lot of like communication, grounded, logical communication. We're feeling really, really good. In a lot of ways, we're feeling secure in a way we haven't been feeling in a while. Mercury is direct. Logically, we feel secure. The last time the moon was in Capricorn, made a trine to Mercury, it was retrograde. We did not feel logical. We were very, very frustrated. Now, it's a little different. We're feeling good. We're making headway. How did it go this weekend? How did things go this week? Tell me about your day, yada, yada, yada. Nothing crazy. The trine between Mercury and the moon goes the most exact between 11:30 and 2:30 in the afternoon. And then a little bit after that, we've got the moon hitting a trine to Jupiter. Now, with Jupiter being retrograde, this is kind of a mixed bag. Some people are going to be playing both sides. It'll be like, you talk to one person, be like, hey, yeah, I heard you turned in your notice. Yep, I totally did. And then you're talking to the Jupiter person going, hey, how you feeling over there? You're like, I don't want to talk about it right now. And that's a big possibility. For some people, it went the other way. Like Mercury told the moon, yeah, they're quitting. I'm so mad about that. Yeah, they offered some weird thing and we're trying to get to the bottom of it. Oh, okay. And then the moon's trine to Jupiter is just like the other half. So again, playing two sides of the coin. But again, it's not a terrible feeling. It's very close to grand trine energy, and that is actually more in that 3 p.m. stand. Whenever the moon's in 13 degrees, there is something very helpful and lucky and hopeful in this energy. There's support in a lot of ways. And I really like the afternoon time whenever it comes to Saturday. I feel like it can be a lot of social things. You can be doing things really productively, meeting people. And again, it's in a productive way, strategic, not necessarily, it's not bad. It's very grounded. Because again, we're trying to heal and get some stability. So say in that grand trine energy, we have those conversations like, yeah, we're doing this. We're meeting here. We're going to go here. Yeah. Why don't you come? Why don't you go hang out? Like you confirmed something from earlier and you want to have like some hangout time. As we get into the evening, this is still Saturday evening, the moon is going to enter a square from Mars. Venus is in a sextile to Mars. So we might have done... So back when the moon was in Sag, when we had that first trine sextile with Venus, Mars, that could have been whenever we're talking about, yeah, we're going to hang out later this week. Oh, yeah. A bunch of us are getting together. We're going to charcoal. We're going to do some things. This is the charcoal night. Venus and Mars are in their sextile, but Mars is squaring moon. So you're chilling. You're having fun with your friends. We're all like, people are just going to hang out. A bunch of us are getting together, invited a bunch of people. Oh, okay, cool. Bring some stuff, bring some sides, bring us some extra drinks, we're in charcoal. We got the meat going. So you just bring your extra stuff. Okay, no problem. And then there's an extra person that got invited that you're not anticipating. It's an old boyfriend. It's an old girlfriend. It's an old friend. You ain't talked to in a long time. Be like, is that Susie? Is that Joe? I always throw Susie and Joe. Those are my names I go for. I don't really know a whole lot of people with those names, so it's why I go with that. If you are named Susie or Joe, I'm not picking on you. I'm sorry. But it's like, is that Susie? I haven't seen Susie in forever. Oh yeah. She got a whole bunch of stuff. She's been back in town. Like she's moving back. She's changing jobs. Yada yada yada. And you see somebody that you're not anticipating. This is not a heavy energy. Other people, like you're out at a bar and you're having a moment and you're just kind of chilling. Somebody walks in the door. You're like, oh my God, I hadn't seen them forever. Those are easy ways that this evening can go. However, Mars is still going to square the moon. Mars is not necessarily entirely happy. We've had some frustrations this week, and there can be some people that are reactive. Now, I had one kind of mental example come through in this energy. In one way, with the Venus Mars sextile, we're chilling and vibing, and the person that walks in, they're not disruptive, but we feel disturbed because they've walked in the door like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in forever, and like that palpitation, that fluttering in your chest. That's one way for this to go, and this is not meant to be heavy. It doesn't have to be an argument in any way. Both Mars and the moon are moving forward. We're not having any back and forth energy. Progression goes from here. So if we have any type of like moment like that, it would be very quick. However, if y'all got natal placements that are being activated in this energy and we get that Mars moon square, there can be a reactiveness to this. And I saw that energy closer to like the most exact was like 11:30. So I'm going to show you this at that moment right here. We have two things that start Saturday evening. One will carry through into Sunday, and that is the sun's in conjunction to Saturn. And I'll put more emphasis into that on Sunday, just to be clear. The other is the one that actually is a part of the Saturday evening part, and that is where Venus is in conjunction, so not able to see. So not an opposition, not an actual conjunction, not a square, not a sextile, not a trine. There's something that's not seen. There's an activity that's not seen that might not even happen. Now that sounds really hinky. And I saw this one and I was like, wow, this is like a very tricky transit because I can see how this could play out. You are at the bar. You're having a good time. You're chilling with your buddy. You're shooting some pool. You're doing some playing darts, whatever, karaoke. You're doing your thing. And all of a sudden, somebody with a chip on their shoulder comes towards you. Why are you staring at my girl? I have literally been playing pool for an hour. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. What are you talking about? Because you have no idea that the Venus person, there you go, on the other side of the bar, said something to Mars. Venus and Mars are in the sextile. Venus saw you, walked by maybe even, and thought you said something in her direction. You might not have said anything. You might have been still talking to the other person across the table that you're playing pool with. And there is this indirect moment that creates a tension. And once Venus tells Mars, he said something. I don't know what, he gets running his mouth over there. Some dude over there. I don't know. He looked at me funny. He grabbed me. He did something that wouldn't be true. The inconjunct element of the moon and Venus. And it sets Mars off because Mars is a little frustrated. Mars is tense. And somebody can do something stupid right here. So, if you're out and about Saturday evening and somebody hits that negative reaction, they're probably having parts of their natal chart activated in the Mars moon square. This can be just like tense arguments and frustration. This can also be like that mental trying to like troubleshoot how we can get something going or how we get something overcome in some ways. But the thing is like, it's late on a Saturday. I don't feel like everybody's not necessarily up troubleshooting what's going wrong with their vehicle Saturday night. Some might be. I'm just trying to say the troubleshooting thing. Some might be, but I don't necessarily feel like that's going to be the case. In other ways, Venus, Mars, we're chilling, we're at the barbecue, we're having fun with our friends. That's somebody else that walks in the door. We're not anticipating it. But it's not terrible. It's kind of exciting. There's actually a really fun energy to Saturday, especially when we get into the evening time. that can be fun and allow for people to put their hair down for the first time in a while. Like, you can relax a little bit. You've had some things get off your chest this week, so we're having a good moment. I really don't mind the energy for Saturday evening. And this energy right here of Mars squaring the sun, squaring the moon, not the sun, it's a blip. It's nothing. But we do have some things that can come around and lead to it. Things that we weren't anticipating, especially as we get into Sunday. So I'm going to get this into Sunday now. Go through the overnight hours. We're going to get to the early morning. So between 6:30 and 8:30 in the morning, I'm going to get this basically to 8:30, the moon is going to go through its trine with Uranus. I gave 8:30 as some extra window right there, but we're really kind of past it at 8:30. So the moon's going to hit this trine to Uranus. You wake up, you run into somebody the night before, not anticipating it. Some of us, if you did the stupid thing, you're waking up in the jail cell the next morning going, oh crap, and the trine to Uranus is going to be like calling that person again to bail us out. I don't know why with Uranus this week I keep thinking we're going to bail people out, but I feel like all my Uranus transits this week, I keep feeling like we're going to get a sudden call to bail somebody out. I don't know how else to explain that, but I really do get that feeling that we're going to get some bailout type of conversations this week on more than one level, and the Uranus element is like the person that does the bailout, just to be clear. But in the other way, let's say you're having the cookout thing and you had a good time, you caught up with that one person, you got to talk a little bit, but everybody was around. There's too many people. Not that there was anything wrong with being a bunch of people, but there was too many people around. So the next morning, they still got your number. And you wake up to a text message. Moon trine Uranus. Hey, you want to get brunch? You want to do lunch today? You want to get together? You want to hang out? You want to do something? Oh, yeah. And with the moon's trine to Uranus, it's unexpected. But it's a retrograde Uranus, so whoever this is, we're probably familiar with. Or we're getting a text back from somebody finally going, oh, hey, I missed your call yesterday. I'm so sorry. Because again, it's a retrograde. Not terrible. Say we do the brunch. Say we're going to go ahead and do that. Yeah. Let's get brunch. Let's do that. Let's have lunch today. Let's do something. Let's hang out. And we get to this point right here. It goes the most exact between 10:30 in the morning and, right after lunch. This is why I was saying brunch for a lot of people. Sunday's like the best brunch day. In the early morning, the moon, while entering its conjunction with Pluto, is also going to sextile Neptune while squaring the nodes. This is interesting to me. And this is why I was saying there's one part of the week that there's going to be a bit of an activation towards a transformation. And this is where I feel like it happens. It's in Sunday. It's the whole day, just to be clear. The moon's going to square the nodes while in the sextile to Neptune. This isn't heavy. It's nostalgic. You wake up, moon trine Uranus. Hey, you want to get brunch? Oh, yeah. You still go to that same place? Do you have any suggestions? Oh, yeah, let's meet here. There's a place in town that I love, and I don't do sponsorships or anything like that, so I'll just say it. My favorite place in Tulsa to do that is a place called Bramble. I love doing that. It's the best place for brunch. They have so much fun stuff there, and it's a great vibe. No matter which location you go to, every one of them's unique. Yeah, let's meet over there. Let's have brunch. I'll meet you. Yeah, give me a little bit. Let me walk the dogs. I'll meet you there. That sounds great. Let's do that. And whenever we hit this part of the morning with the sextile with Neptune, there's a nostalgic energy here. But with the square to the nodes, mixing with the nostalgia, mixing with the Uranus activation, hear me out, and that upcoming combination of the last Moon-Pluto conjunction before Pluto turns direct, because that's what this is. This feels like a very fated activation, that it's time to trigger a transformation in a lot of ways. And that comes through in this part of the day. Now, with the moon sextile to Neptune, a lot of it's very nostalgic. Considering the sun, a representation of our ego, is not able to directly see Saturn. It's in conjunct. I said on the late part of Saturday, like the Sun-Saturn thing, I'm going to get more into on Sunday because I feel like it's more important for Sunday. Here it is. The moon is in Saturn's sign. And the moon is going to go through all of these energies, and it starts with that trine to Uranus, and Uranus is in Venus' sign. The sun is in mutual reception to Venus, so we have this element of both a Venusian tie-in. There's an element here. The nodes, the south node is in Libra. The sun is in Libra. There's some tie-ins here. This feels very helpful, unexpected, motivational, nostalgic. It also feels like we're catching somebody up. It really does. It feels like we're telling somebody about things that they don't know about. Sun indirect, in conjunct to Saturn. We're catching up. Unexpectedly, but we're catching up. Moon Neptune. So where's your job? What do you do? How's this going? What's your favorite food? What's your favorite color? Some of those things, all over again. How's your mom? Da-da-da. There's something from the past. There's a nostalgic element here. We're talking about fun times. We're laughing. We're giggling. I can hear the giggling. And there's something that's very, very restorative. And this feels like it goes into a lot of our healing process of how we are recognizing somebody else's responsibilities, somebody else's changes and transformation and their own situations that they've been dealing with, especially as the moon hits that conjunction with Pluto. Now that's going to happen midday. The most exact between 2 and 4:30 in the afternoon. And then by evening, the moon's going to change signs. So this feels like seeing the change, seeing the conditions, seeing the transformation, seeing the struggle, seeing where age or the condition of something has lessened. We didn't know. Somebody caught us up. Moon sextile Neptune. Some of it's going to be heavy, depending on where we're at in our lifespan. Not everybody's, reconnecting in a fun sense. Some people are, the moon's trine to Uranus was contacting family unexpectedly. And it's filling them in on the situation. And once we get to the afternoon, that's when they see Grandpa. That's when we see Grandma. We're like, oh, hey, you feeling okay? This can be that way. It can be. And again, Sun in conjunct Saturn, indirect of it, so we didn't know about Grandpa, we didn't know about that elder. In other ways, let's say we had that bust situation earlier this week. The Sun's trine to Uranus could be the surprising confirmation, the surprise finding. And then it leads to more questioning, and we got to go back. I don't know why I keep picking that up. I keep picking that one up. All week I have been. There's something there where we start talking about that other thing. We start talking about that secret thing, that thing that was under the surface. If you have been the Venus person this whole time, and now your awareness has changed, and now we're trying to understand who needs to be that responsible person. Where do responsibilities need to go? And some of us, we're going to be dealing with a fear because we have to accept something with the moon's conjunction to Pluto. There's something about this afternoon. For a lot of people, it's accepting fate, accepting change, dealing with the fear, understanding the struggles, a power struggle that's been going on, accepting that we have to do something differently. We don't want to do it differently. The last time Pluto was at this area of the sky was in January. So we might have been trying to launch some things for a very long time. Or we hired somebody back at the beginning of the year and now they're quitting all of a sudden, like, oh crap. We have to accept it. We have to accept that something is different. We have to accept moving on. That the people that were involved are no longer going to be involved. Acceptance isn't going to be easy, especially if it's the condition of somebody else, like seeing grandpa. Sometimes that's going to be the case. In others, it's going to be a lot more positive. And it's going to be that day of brunch and hanging out and catching up with somebody that you weren't anticipating. You had that, abrupt type thing, but we have that, so many of those other little planets in retrograde that it's like, a lot of it's going to be somebody coming from the past. There's going to be something very unexpected there. And by the time the moon hits that conjunction to Pluto, it's like, again, seeing the change and the transformation, seeing how much somebody has grown. Especially if you haven't seen this person, like, y'all ain't been together in 10 years. You had a divorce and kids since then. They've had a divorce and kids since then. And now you're catching up again. And it feels like old times and it feels good. You can see that transformation. You can see how time has changed them. And that again would be like seeing the effects of a power struggle. How time has changed us. All of us have changed in the last 10 years. All of us. I just have to say 2019 and 2020 and everybody's going to be like, yeah, we've changed. Yes. Now, by the time we get to the evening, the moon is going to go into Aquarius. And this is still the same day. This is still Sunday. And as soon as it goes into Aquarius, it's going to enter a trine with the sun. And this is what I was picking up on before. We start Sunday with the moon's trine to Uranus. This is something unexpected. Like, hey, you want to get brunch? Hey, something's going on. Hey, we found something, whatever that surprise was. By the end of the day, the moon going into Aquarius, going into Uranus' sign, while the sun has been in conjunct Saturn. So we're very aware that we don't know the other side. We're dealing with something we weren't anticipating. We're handling something that we didn't think was going to happen. By the time we get to the evening, the sun is now in that trine to the moon. The thing about Aquarius is the other ruler of Aquarius is Saturn. There is an activation to Sunday. There's a big activation to Sunday, and it is going to not be a full-on play out to just Sunday. It's got a long-term effect to it. We had some things activate this week as Mars was going over these areas of the sky. And then we got to this weekend part and the whole tone changed. That relief allowed for the next phase of change. That awareness allowed for the next phase of change. And this is it. The other thing that starts, not exact, throughout the afternoon and evening on Sunday is our third trine between Jupiter and Mercury. Now, this is going to go more exact on Monday, so I'm going to save this for Monday, but I'm not ignoring it either. I'm making everybody aware there's that third one. The second one the second one happened right as Jupiter was starting its retrograde. So that was literally September 4th. 20 days later, we're back in this energy. So there can be some elements of this day that can go back to September 3rd and 4th, whatever was kind of in that turnaround energy. There are some elements to Sunday that can go back to that, but not all and not completely, just to be clear. So, why am I so heavy on Mars? Mars didn't really do a whole lot this week, except for that one square to the moon, but it was over those areas of the sky. Everything in existence has a chart. We have natal charts. We have birth charts. Whenever you start a business, the inception date of that business has a chart. Spiritually Bougie Astrology has a chart. When other things happen in your life, they have a chart. Your children will have charts, but your animals have charts. Your home can have a chart. And even on top of that, you can layer charts on top of one another. So, some people have heard of synastry, and others, there's composites, and that's where you can take your chart with another person and combine it together and see how the elements of two people can work together, how it would play out in a union. Whether that's a business partnership or an actual relationship, I'm just saying union. You can see how certain things will play out between the two of them. That's a composite chart. When you have a wedding date, your marriage now technically has a chart. You can actually use that. Why do I say all that? Mars. Mars is rebirth. Mars conjunct the sun only happens once every 2 years. Our next one is going to happen in November of this year. Everything from this week to that one is going to be going back or going over areas of the sky that are shifting the start of something new. And then once Mars goes into Scorpio, it'll be shifting pivotal disruptions to solidify that new fixed energy that's going to need to come through in the next phase, but also to solidify this phase. Because the next Sun-Mars conjunction, it's going to happen in Scorpio, but it's going to be the late degrees of Scorpio. Can't talk now. I'm sorry, it's a lot. However, Mars going back over that area of the sky this week is reactivating something that he hasn't messed with in 2 years. Now, when we had the last Mars rebirth, it was during a Mercury retrograde. It was while Venus was going into a conjunction with the South Node that had its own little activation. That happened in Sagittarius. But the Sun and Mars, they were pretty well right beside each other all through the phase of Libra. So the Sun didn't have the ability to see disruption the same way. And plus, where Venus was going in the sky had nothing to do with what was going on. So Venus was full steam ahead, and she was heading towards Capricorn and heading towards her retrograde that happened then in 2021, December 2021 to January 2022, we had a Venus retrograde in Capricorn. Her focus wasn't back there. It really wasn't. But there were two things from 2021 that we are closing out this year, and both of them actually tie to Venus. Venus. The first, Mars conjunct the Sun and going through its rebirth phase in October of 2021. The second one was the out of sign eclipse that happened in Taurus, November 18th, 19th, depending on your time zone, of 2021. This year, in the next 45 days, and Mars just activated parts of it this week, we have Venusian disruptions. This first one is Mars going back over that area of the sky and now doing a whole different level of pivotal adjustments. And in that 45-day span, that's why I said it this way. So at the end of October, we're going to have another out of sign eclipse in Taurus. There are two parts of 2021 that are going to be coming back around in the next 45 days. For a lot of us, there were things from that timeline that are coming back up and we don't even realize it. The thing is, the reason they're coming back up is because we closed something out then, and we've literally been spending the last 2 years to push certain things into place. Those things are now going to get pushed into place in this next eclipse season. And the eclipses that will follow both seasons in 2024 will be the start of new cycles. This one is both a transition. It's a transition because it's both a start and a finish. There's a double edge there. And it's all Venus ruled. The next two won't be that way. There's something very, very fated to the energy that's at play right now. And a lot of people, I know it's very easy to say all that, and you hear a lot of people say that, but there's enough markers in there. If you know how to go backwards and forward, no, that's real. But a lot of people aren't doing that. They're just saying it because it's fun to say. There's a fated energy going on. And we're going to see a lot of fated things, new long-term things that really play out in the next 45 days. It's going to be a lot. And the thing is, this energy that starts, it's going to have a long-term rippling effect. We're not going to see all of the elements to that. It's very rare to be in a moment where you can sit here and say, I know that time is going to change throughout the rest of this year. But that's exactly what's going to happen. There's going to be a huge amount of shifts and change throughout the rest of this year that are going to solidify entire cycles of our lives. Mars going back over that area of the sky is disrupting the final areas that's necessary to allow for those changes to slide into place. That's the big part. Now, the other thing about Pluto, let's just talk about everything that has to do with Scorpio now. Pluto's the other part of this week in both direct ways and indirect ways. And the thing is, think of July. Think of how we started July 17th, the new moon in Cancer. The nodes changed sides and immediately squared Pluto and put a lot of pressure on Pluto. And the nodes squared Pluto continuously for nearly a month. It was from July 17th, I stopped doing the calculations around August 6th. Just short of a full month. Pressure was put on Pluto. Capricorn risings, y'all felt it. You felt it even before the nodes changed signs. You felt Pluto coming back into your first. A bunch of you had things going wrong with your body, certain amounts of stress, anxiety, like, oh, poor Capricorn risings. Y'all didn't even know what was going on. Pluto was going through hell, and you didn't even know it. There's a reason so many people were triggered during that time. A lot of our focus was on Venus. We didn't understand this other area of pressure. But I feel like in a lot of ways, we're going to see the results of that pressure. Because for a lot of people, that Plutonian side, it was internal pressure. It wasn't easily noticeable. And there's other reasons why I say internal. Whenever it comes to Pluto, Pluto has to do with the underworld. Underworld, under surface. Under the surface. Things aren't easily noticeable. There are things that have been going on behind the scenes, under the surface, that need to come out. Some of us are having to deal with wounds and trauma. Some of us need to deal with a lot of healing. Some of us have been going through that healing already, and what's going to start to emerge over the next month is going to be that transformation energy. It's going to be taking the internal transformation and allowing for certain things to come to the surface. Pluto is going to turn direct October 10th. Eclipse season starts October 14th, but we also have in that same few days, Mars, good old Mars. Mars is going to square that Pluto. And it's going to instigate something. Literally in those few days, it's going to instigate some energies. We're not putting pressure on Pluto quite yet. But we're becoming very, very aware of something with Pluto that will be pressurized in the weeks ahead. First, we have to find the awareness. We have to activate something. There's an activation to the end of this week that we're not going to easily see the full effects of and the full awareness of until later. For many of us, if we've been separated for somebody for some time, that's going to be part of that energy later this week. And the things that are going to be coming to the surface is the things that we need to know. It's going to be a part of that catch-up energy. But the catch-up isn't always just about, oh yeah, mom still does this and we still live in the same place. It's not going to be all fun, sunshine, and rainbows. No. Sometimes we're going to talk about the hurt, the fear, the wounds, the trauma. We'll have conversations about that. We're going to have them all on Sunday? No. Actually, I feel like this weekend that we go into, it's a vibing weekend. I love the energy this coming weekend. It's great. It's got a lot of hope to it. It's grounded. It allows for a different level of logic. It allows for a different level of awareness. And once the sun hits that trine to the moon at the very, very end of Sunday, it's almost like ending the day going, I'm so glad we hung out. I'm so glad we caught up. I'm so glad we ran into each other. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. I'm so happy. I'm so excited that we're about to do this, that this is going to change. And once the moon goes into Aquarius, our ability to talk about more long-term change is going to be in the atmosphere. And that's how we start Monday, is talking about more long-term things, bigger things, political things in some way. I don't try to put too many politics into the reading, into the forecast each week, but still, there will be a change. There's something that's going to start energetically on the 24th. And it feels completely separate from how the rest of the week is going. I got to be clear about that. It does not feel like it has anything to do with some of the stuff earlier this week. Is that going to be the case for everybody? No. Some people are going to have the bad news. They're going to realize that they're losing more people, that more negative things are going wrong, and they're going to be stewing all weekend. And by the time they get to the moon's conjunction with Pluto, it's going to be just like really that set in of fear and frustration and anxiety. And I can't deny that. There's going to be lots of that. But not everybody's in that mindset. And a lot of us, we're just tired. We're tired of the struggle. We're tired of fighting. We're tired of drama and BS. I know I cuss all the time, but for whatever reason, I wanted to just say BS right then. We're just tired of it. And once we get to this weekend, we just want to feel good. We want to feel better. And we don't want to dwell on everything. We want to be able to cut ties in a peaceful way. We just want to say, I'm done. I'm done. There is a break in the atmosphere, and I've said this for a while, but not everybody is going to have their breaks at the exact same time. That's just the thing. Some people, they've been caught doing things. They didn't even know they were going to get caught. They didn't realize that the awareness that happened at the beginning of that Mercury retrograde was setting them up for something. But once we hit that sun's opposition to Neptune, they got busted. They got caught. The thing about people that do shady things is they tend to know other people that do shady things. They know about other shady situations. And there is some element, and we won't see that directly for a while either. There will be some element of people trying to throw somebody else under the bus. They're going to tell something. It might not even be a lie. It could be completely true. It can be completely true. But the only reason that they're willing to tell somebody about it or throw it out there or talk to the boss or talk to the authorities or whoever is because it benefits them in some way. They've been holding it in their pocket. Didn't ever know if they were going to use it, but they're about to. I know that seems specific, but I've been picking up on that one for about 2 weeks now. And I just, as I kept looking at the trains this week, I'm like seeing that one come through. I don't know who that's going to affect. I don't know who's going to be messaging me later this week going, so-and-so got busted. Like, oh, there's that. Okay, that's what I was picking up. I don't know when that's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know when I'm going to hear about that one. I know I will. I feel it. Because I don't know, that's why I'm putting it out here on the podcast. Like, look, this one's coming through. I see this one really clear. The other ones, they're pretty much examples, but I see something else coming through. And it's going to be another set of energies that, again, is going to fall into this transformational time frame of transition and going to the next fixed stage of life. And the reason I say it's going to be the next fixed stage so profusely the way that I do is because whenever we do get to the next Mars-Sun conjunction, that only happens again once every 2 years. When we get to the next one, it's going to be in Scorpio. It's going to be in the later degrees of Scorpio. And that is a fixed sign. And that's Mars' sign. So a lot of where we're going right now is going to be very much a determined energy that completely falls into areas tied to alignment. Because again, Mars is one of the rulers of Scorpio. We transition this week. It's not a heavy week. It's a breakthrough type week. We see the little steps in the pivots forward. We see the little steps forward. We see the little bitty ways of how we can progress from here. I like the energy this week. I really, really do. I hope everyone has a great week. I love and appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for the support. Thank you for listening. For everybody, all the new people that are starting to tune in, I appreciate you. Hit me up with questions. Hit me up with concerns. I've had more people starting to find my WhatsApp. I actually rarely use this. So bear with me on that. If you message me through WhatsApp, I will respond. I'm not the best at responding on that one. Humor me. Usually the easiest way to get hold of me is to go straight to the Spiritually Bougie Astrology page on Facebook and message me through that. However you find me through WhatsApp, that works too. Some of y'all have already been doing that. So whatever works, if you have questions, hit me up. I'm happy to answer, happy to talk to everybody. But aside from that, it's going to be a good week, guys. Subscribe.